Nova 9 was not like any ordinary space station. It hung in the void like a silver jewel, a hub of trade and travel for thousands of species across the galaxy. Its walls shimmered with reflective panels, and the air buzzed with a mix of alien languages, machinery hums, and the occasional laughter of children running through the open corridors. For many, it was just a busy station, where deals were made and goods exchanged. But for Elias Ward, it was home, a home of purpose, built not from blood or title, but from the choices he made every day. Elias had arrived on Nova 9-10 years ago, a human far from Earth, with little more than his engineering tools and a quiet determination. He had learned quickly that surviving here meant more than just fixing ships or building devices. It meant helping people, anyone in need, without expecting recognition or reward. Over the years, he had become a known figure among traders, travelers, and even some of the local authorities. Not because he was famous, but because he quietly did what needed to be done. On a quiet morning, when the soft golden light of Nova 9's artificial sun spilled across the docking bays, Elias was checking the power conduits along the western corridor. He crouched low, adjusting a series of energy regulators, his tools clicking in practiced rhythm. The corridor was mostly empty, save for the occasional merchant or station worker hurrying to their task. He was focused entirely on his work when he heard a tiny, hesitant voice. "Human?" Elias paused, glancing up. His brow furrowed. Few called him human these days. Most knew him by name. He straightened and turned, scanning the corridor. At first, he saw nothing. Then, at the far end, a small figure stepped into view. She was unlike anything he had ever seen in his years on Nova 9. Her body was small, no taller than a human child of 6, but covered in shimmering scales that reflected the station's light in soft, rainbow hues. Tiny wings, folded neatly against her back, twitched nervously. Her tail curled around her feet as she took another cautious step forward. Her eyes, large, golden, and impossibly bright, looked directly at him. And in them was a mixture of hope and fear. Elias straightened fully and took a cautious step toward her. "Hello," he said softly. "Can I help you?" The little dragon girl hesitated, then stepped closer. "Human, can you pretend to be my father today?" Her voice was barely a whisper, yet it carried a weight that made Elias's chest tighten. He blinked, utterly confused. She swallowed and looked down at her clawed feet, shuffling slightly. "My school. They are having family day. Everyone must come with a parent or guardian. I don't have anyone. Please, can you pretend to be my father today?" Elias was silent for a moment. The request seemed impossible. He barely knew this child, yet the sadness and hope in her eyes struck something deep within him. The loneliness in her small voice reminded him of stories he had heard as a child of children lost, wandering through a galaxy too vast and cruel. "What's your name?" "I'm Leary," she said, lifting her head slightly. "Leary of the Ember Scales. My parents, they are gone. Pirates. They took them when I was very small." Her voice wavered, and she looked away. Elias's heart clenched. He crouched down to her level, careful not to seem frightening. "I'm very sorry, Leary. I can't replace your parents, but I can stay with you today. I can be your guardian for Family Day." Her eyes widened in surprise. Then, slowly, a tiny smile appeared. "Yes," he said, nodding. "I will." Leary's shoulders relaxed slightly, and for the first time, she let herself trust him. Elias had no idea what sort of day awaited them. But he knew one thing: he could not walk away from a child in need. The rest of the morning passed in a quiet, almost surreal preparation. Elias helped Leary choose clothes that would hide her scales as much as possible, while still being comfortable. She giggled when he awkwardly tried to fold a small, glittering jacket over her wings. He tried to teach her to walk without tripping on her tail, and she teased him when he stumbled over his own boots. For a brief moment, the corridor echoed not with loneliness, but with laughter, a sound that neither of them had expected that day. By mid-morning, they arrived at the school. Nova 9's school was a vast hall, built for children of every species. Holographic walls displayed floating images of planets, stars, and galaxies, and classrooms extended in many directions. Children of all shapes and sizes ran through the halls, laughing and shouting greetings to each other. Families, parents, and guardians moved through the crowd, some chatting, some watching their children with gentle eyes. Leary clung to Elias's hand tightly. Her eyes darted nervously to every corner, and she whispered, "Everyone. Everyone has someone. I only have you." Elias squeezed her hand gently. "And that's enough," he said. "I'm here. That's all that matters." As they moved further into the hall, several other parents and teachers turned to look. Some were curious, others surprised. A human with a dragon child was a rare sight, especially one so small and unusual. Whispers traveled across the hall, but Elias ignored them. He focused entirely on Leary, keeping his presence calm and protective. The family day activities began with a series of games and challenges. Children were paired with their guardians, and everyone worked together. Leary hesitated at first, unsure how to participate. But with Elias guiding her, cheering her on gently, she began to take part. She smiled as she tossed a small energy ball toward a hoop, her wings fluttering slightly in excitement. For the first time in many weeks, Leary laughed freely. Her scales shimmered with a soft glow, as if the simple joy of the moment energized her. Elias watched her, feeling a strange, warm pride he had never felt before. But the day was far from simple. While most families enjoyed themselves, a group of figures lingered at the edges of the hall. Their shapes were humanoid but strange, their eyes scanning the children with an intensity that made Elias uneasy. He had a sense, an instinct, that these figures were not here for fun. Leary noticed his glance and asked, Who are they?" "I don't know yet," he said softly, "but stay close to me." The day continued, but Elias's mind could not rest. He noticed the figures moving, subtly changing positions as though studying the children. His human senses could not detect much, but something about their presence felt wrong. He stayed close to Leary, keeping one hand lightly on her shoulder, reassuring her without drawing attention. By afternoon, the group of figures had moved closer. One of them made a subtle gesture, and Elias saw a faint shimmer in the air around Leary. He realized then that Leary was being watched because she was special more than just a lonely child. That evening, as the family day activities wound down and children began returning to their classrooms or dormitories, Elias and Leary walked back through the quiet corridors. The artificial sun had begun to dim, casting long, golden shadows along the walls. Leary's tiny hand remained in his, and she whispered, "Can you stay with me a little longer tonight? I feel safe with you." Elias stopped and knelt down to look her in the eyes. "I will stay, Leary," he said. "Tonight, and as long as you need me. You're not alone anymore." Leary's golden eyes glimmered, and she leaned slightly into him, a trust forming that had been absent for far too long. In that moment, neither of them spoke of danger, pirates, or the mysterious figures watching from the shadows. For once, they simply existed together, finding warmth and courage in each other's presence. But beyond the walls of Nova 9, among the shadows of the station's upper levels, the figures had already reported their observation. Leary's energy, the dragon core energy that pulsed faintly in her small body, had been noted. Their whispers spoke of plans and power, of a young dragon with abilities far beyond her age. Elias did not yet know that by agreeing to protect Leary for a single day, he had stepped into a story far larger than himself, a story of danger, courage, and a bond that would challenge the limits of both human and dragon. For now, though, in the quiet of the corridor, Elias simply held Leary's hand, and for the first time in a long time, she felt safe, and that was enough. The morning light on Nova 9 spilled over the station like liquid gold, shimmering against the silver panels and illuminating the busy corridors. Elias Ward, still a bit stiff from yesterday's long day at Leary's side, stretched and rubbed his shoulders. He had slept poorly, not from discomfort, but from a quiet concern he could not shake. Something about the station yesterday had felt off. The group of figures who had lingered near the school haunted his thoughts. Yet, when he glanced at Leary, sitting cross-legged on the floor and carefully arranging small tools into a neat line, the worry melted away. Her golden eyes sparkled with the innocence and curiosity of a child unburdened by fear, and her small wings fluttered slightly as she focused on her task. "Good morning, Leary," Elias said, crouching beside her. "Did you sleep well?" "Rouge. Did you sleep?" Leary looked up and gave a small, shy smile. I slept better than I have in a long time," she admitted. "Because you were here." Elias felt a warmth spread through him. "I'm glad," he said simply. "You can count on me. Today, I'll be right here. Just like yesterday." She nodded, fidgeting with the edge of her jacket. Do you really have to stay with me the whole day?" she asked, her voice small and uncertain. "Yes," Elias said with a smile. "That's the deal, isn't it? I promised you I would be your guardian for today, and I intend to keep that promise." Leary's eyes brightened, and she let herself relax a little. She had never experienced a promise like this before, one made without hesitation or condition. Most humans she had met were too busy or too indifferent to care about her. Elias was different, and that difference gave her courage she did not know she had. The two walked toward the school together, their hands brushing lightly as Leary clutched his sleeve for reassurance. The corridors were already alive, with children and parents preparing for another day of activities. Holographic banners floated above the hallways, welcoming everyone to the station's Family Day celebrations. Inside the main hall, the room buzzed with laughter, conversation, and the occasional metallic clang of alien technology. Tables were set up with games, puzzles, and craft stations for every species. A stage at the far end held holographic projections of planets and stars, spinning slowly in mesmerizing patterns. It was a place designed to celebrate families, to make everyone feel included, except for children like Leary, who had none. But Elias did not let her feel alone. He guided her through the crowd, pointing out friendly faces and introducing her to teachers and staff. "This is my student for the day," he said simply, letting his calm human confidence speak for him. "I'll be looking after her." I. Leary peeked up at him, a little embarrassed, and whispered, Do you really have to call me your student?" He chuckled softly. "Not really. You're my charge for today. That's all." The day began with small games, puzzle races, teamwork challenges, and friendly competitions between children and their guardians. Leary hesitated at first, watching other children with their parents. But Elias stayed by her side, offering encouragement and gentle guidance. When a puzzle piece fell from her claws, he smiled and picked it up. "Here," he said. "Let's try it together." The small act of kindness sparked something inside Leary. She laughed a soft, musical sound and placed the piece with confidence. Then, for the first time, she joined fully in the activities. Her small wings twitched with excitement, and her scales glimmered under the lights, catching the attention of nearby children and adults. Other families began to notice them. Some stared curiously at the unusual pairing of a human and a dragon child. Some whispered softly, amazed at the sight. But Elias did not mind. His focus remained entirely on Leary, and she, sensing his steady presence, began to trust him more with every passing moment. As the morning progressed, Elias noticed something strange. A group of figures, tall, cloaked, and moving with silent precision, watched the children from the edges of the hall. He felt a familiar unease settle in his chest. They were not parents. They were not teachers. Their eyes seemed locked on Leary, following her movements with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. "Leary," he whispered, lowering his voice. She nodded, her small hand finding his and gripping it tightly. Are they here to hurt me?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Elias hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "I don't know yet. But if they try anything, I will protect you. That is my promise." Leary's eyes glimmered with a mixture of fear and relief. For the first time, she felt truly protected, as if a shield had been placed around her by the simple fact that Elias was there. She relaxed slightly, leaning a little into his side as they continued through the hall. Suddenly, one of the games ended with a cheer, and Leary let out a small, excited squeal, her wings flaring slightly. Elias smiled at her enthusiasm, feeling a surge of pride. He had no children of his own, and yet he felt an inexplicable connection to this small, brave creature who trusted him so completely. But just as he allowed himself a moment of calm, one of the cloaked figures stepped closer to the crowd. Their gaze was fixed directly on Leary, and the air seemed to hum with tension. He had learned long ago that instincts could be sharper than any scanner. Something about this figure was wrong. Dangerous. He placed a protective hand lightly on Leary's shoulder. "We need to move," he whispered. "Stay behind me." Leary nodded, her golden eyes wide but trusting. Together, they slipped through the crowd, weaving between children and guardians until they reached a quieter corridor. The figure, realizing they had been noticed, hesitated, then melted back into the shadows. Who were they?" Leary asked, her voice barely audible. Elias shook his head. "I don't know, but I have a feeling they're not here for fun. We need to be careful. Cases. I see. I see." The rest of the morning continued with more games and challenges. But Elias's focus had shifted. He stayed close to Leary, keeping her within reach, and watching the entrances and exits with a careful eye. At lunch, they found a quiet table where they could eat together without drawing attention. Leary nibbled on small portions, her wings folding and unfolding nervously. "You know," Elias said, breaking the silence. "You're very brave, Leary. Most children would be scared if they were alone here. But you face it." Leary looked down, fidgeting with her fingers. "I'm not really brave," she admitted. "I'm just scared a lot. But it helps that you are here." Elias smiled softly. "Bravery isn't about not being scared." Her small smile returned, and for a moment, the shadows of the mysterious figures felt far away. She laughed quietly at a joke Elias made about his own clumsiness during one of the morning games. The sound was light, musical, and pure. For the first time, she felt a sense of normalcy, a small piece of happiness she had thought she might never know. After lunch, they returned to the hall for the afternoon activities. This time, the games were more physical, testing speed, balance, and coordination. Leary hesitated at first, unsure if she could participate. But Elias knelt beside her and said gently, "You can do it. I'll be right here, with you." With his encouragement, she stepped forward. She ran, hopped, and climbed through the obstacle course, her small wings fluttering in excitement. Each success brought a giggle from her lips and a quiet cheer from Elias. He felt a bond growing stronger between them, something deeper than friendship, a connection forged by trust and shared courage. Yet, just as the day seemed peaceful, Elias noticed movement at the edge of his vision. The cloaked figures had returned, more determined this time. They lingered near the upper corridors, watching Leary with a quiet intensity. Elias felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. Whatever these figures wanted, they were patient. And they would not leave without what they sought. Leary, sensing his tension, asked softly, "Are they back?" He nodded, keeping his voice calm. "Yes. But don't worry. I won't let anything happen to you. We'll stay safe." She looked at him, her golden eyes wide with trust. "Really?" "Really," he said firmly. For the rest of the afternoon, Elias guided her carefully, teaching her small lessons in awareness and caution. Leary began to understand that being careful did not mean hiding in fear. It meant being smart, alert, and ready. With Elias by her side, she felt strong in a way she had never felt before. As the sun began to set over Nova 9, painting the station in hues of orange and gold, Elias and Leary walked together toward the dormitories. The day had been long, full of excitement, laughter, and the quiet shadow of danger. Yet, despite everything, a bond had formed, a bond that neither time nor fear could easily break. Leary leaned slightly against Elias as they walked. "Thank you for staying with me," she whispered. Elias smiled down at her. "There's no need to thank me. I'm here because I want to be. Today, tomorrow, I'll be here as long as you need me." And in that moment, as the lights of Nova 9 shimmered around them, Leary felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. The next morning, on Nova 9 began quietly. The artificial sunlight filled the corridors with a gentle warmth, casting soft reflections on the silver panels. Elias Ward had woken early, his mind restless. He had barely slept, haunted by the image of the cloaked figures from the day before. Their quiet, watchful movements, the way they lingered near Leary, it had not been a coincidence. Elias had an uneasy feeling in his chest that he could not ignore. Leary, unaware of the looming danger, bounded into the small kitchen area of the dormitory, her wings fluttering with energy. "Good morning, Elias," she chirped, her golden eyes bright with excitement. "Do you want some breakfast?" "I made it myself." Elias smiled. Leary had grown comfortable enough to move with ease around him, and her laughter this morning sounded like music. "I'd love some," he replied, taking a seat at the small table. "What did you make?" "Eggs, scrambled," Leary said proudly. "And I even added some spice from the station's garden." "One." Elias laughed softly. "You're becoming quite the chef, Leary." They ate together quietly, the simple moment of normalcy comforting. But Elias's thoughts remained half on Leary and half on the strange figures from yesterday. Who were they? Why were they so interested in her? After breakfast, Elias decided it was time to investigate. He could not stay passive any longer. The safety of this small dragon girl depended on his awareness. "Leary," he said gently, "today, we might need to be careful. There are people watching us. People who want to take you for reasons I don't fully understand yet." Leary's wings folded tightly against her back, and she looked down. "Take me? But why? I didn't do anything wrong." Her voice trembled slightly. "You haven't done anything wrong," Elias assured her. "But sometimes, people want power, and they think you have something special. We need to find out what it is and how to keep you safe." Leary nodded, her small hand finding his. I trust you," she whispered. "I want you to stay with me, Elias." "I will," he said firmly. They began by speaking with the station's security office. Elias knew many of the guards personally. They trusted him because he had helped them in the past with engineering tasks and problem-solving. He explained what he had seen, the cloaked figures, their strange behavior, and their interest in Leary. The security chief, A tall alien with silver skin and multiple eyes frowned. Cloaked figures? On Nova 9? That is serious. If they are here for her, they will not hesitate to use force. What do you mean here for her? Leary asked softly, her voice shaking. The chief glanced at Elias. This child is not ordinary. She carries what we call dragon core energy, a rare life force unique to her species. It is highly sought after by certain groups who believe it can be used to gain extraordinary abilities. Leary's eyes widened. Dragon? Core energy? She whispered. She wrapped her small arms around herself, shivering slightly. I didn't know. You did nothing wrong, Elias said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. And you're not alone. I will help you. And so will our friends here, on Nova 9. The chief nodded. We will monitor the station. But you, human, must protect her in ways we cannot. The cloaked group is dangerous and clever. They will not give up easily. Elias's jaw tightened. Understood. He felt a mix of determination and fear. He had faced challenges before, but protecting a child, someone who trusted him completely, was a responsibility far greater than anything he had imagined. By mid-morning, the warning became reality. Alarms echoed through the station as a sudden, coordinated attack occurred on the outer docking district. The cloaked figures had made their move. Elias reacted instantly, grabbing Leary and rushing toward a safer corridor. Stay close, he shouted over the rising noise. Don't let go. Leary's small hand gripped his tightly. Her heart pounded, but she could feel Elias's calm presence guiding her. They moved quickly, weaving through the crowded corridors and avoiding panicked station residents. Sparks flew from damaged panels, and the hum of the station shifted into chaotic noises. Yet amidst the chaos, Elias never faltered. They ducked into an industrial tunnel, a narrow passage designed for maintenance access. The dim lights flickered, casting long shadows on the walls. Leary clung to him as Elias scanned the tunnel for threats. We're safe for now, he said quietly, but we have to keep moving. As they ran, Leary's fear gave way to something else, a strange energy bubbling within her. She could feel it, faintly at first, a warmth spreading from her chest. She stopped suddenly, wings fluttering, and whispered, Elias, something. I can feel it inside me. What is it? Elias asked, crouching beside her. I don't know, she said. It's like fire, but not hurting me. It wants to protect me. Elias studied her closely. You might be awakening your dragon core energy. That's why the cloaked group is after you. They want that power. But maybe you can use it to help us. Leary's eyes widened. I don't know if I can control it. You will, Elias said firmly. I'll help you. We'll do this together. They continued through the tunnels until they reached a small service chamber, where Elias could set up temporary barricades. He used tools from his engineering pack to lock the door and reinforce it, creating a small safe zone. Leary watched him work, her golden eyes wide with admiration. You're really brave, Elias, she said quietly. Elias shook his head with a small smile. Humans aren't special because of strength or size. We're brave because we care for others. And right now, caring for you means being brave. Leary's small smile returned, though her nerves still lingered. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. I want to try, she said. To help. To protect myself. Elias nodded. Good. Let's start small. You focus on feeling the energy, controlling it just a little. Don't be afraid, this is part of you. 1. Leary closed her eyes, concentrating. A faint golden glow began to pulse from her chest, spreading outward like sunlight through the chamber. She opened her eyes, and a small, protective aura shimmered around her. Elias's eyes widened in surprise and pride. "Excellent," he said. "You did that. That's your power. And it's beautiful." Her smile widened. And for a brief moment, the fear melted away. But then, the tunnel shook as a distant explosion echoed through the station. The cloaked group was relentless, moving closer to her location. Elias quickly made a plan. "We need to move," he said. "Follow me. Stay inside the aura, and trust your energy." Leary nodded, focusing on her glowing aura. Together, they navigated the tunnels, moving quietly, but quickly. The cloaked figures were searching, but the tunnel's twists and turns gave them an advantage. Leary's aura acted like a shield, deflecting the energy scans the enemies used to locate her. Finally, they reached a small, abandoned maintenance hub. Elias barricaded the door and looked at Leary. "You did amazingly," he said. "You kept your cool, and your energy helped us stay safe. That's more than most could do." Leary's golden eyes shimmered with tears she tried to hide. Elias crouched and looked her in the eyes. "Leary, you are not alone. You have your strength, your courage, and now, you have me. That is enough, and I will never leave you." The two of them sat quietly for a moment, catching their breath. Outside, the chaos continued. But inside the small chamber, they found a fragile peace. For the first time, Leary felt a sense of hope. For the first time, she realized that even in a galaxy full of danger, humans could be a force of kindness, courage, and protection. And Elias understood something as well, that bravery was not just about facing danger. It was about standing with someone who trusted you completely. And he would stand with Leary, no matter what came next. The station lights flickered as Nova 9 shuddered under the distant echoes of explosions. The cloaked figures were not finished. They moved swiftly and quietly through the docking bays, their purpose clear. They were hunting Leary, and every second counted. Elias Ward crouched beside Leary in the small maintenance hub, the golden aura of her dragon core energy shimmering softly around her. "We can't stay here forever," he said quietly. "They'll find us if we don't act." Leary nodded, her small face determined. I want to help," she whispered. "I don't want to hide anymore." Elias looked at her and smiled, a mix of pride and concern in his eyes. "Good. That's what I like to hear. Humans don't run from danger. And neither should you, especially not with your abilities." He stood and helped Leary to her feet. Her tiny hands gripped his, trusting him completely. "We'll need a plan," he said. "We can't just rush into them, but we can outsmart them. The tunnels give us an advantage, and your energy can protect us while we move." Leary focused, feeling the golden warmth of her aura spreading around her. She could feel when it flickered, when it strengthened, and when it needed guidance. Elias had given her courage, and now, she was ready to act. The two moved through the maintenance corridors, quiet but swift. Elias knew every twist and turn of Nova 9's inner structure, and he guided Leary through hidden passages, emergency exits, and service hatches that few station residents even knew existed. They emerged near the lower docking district, where the station's ships waited in silence. Some abandoned in panic, others under emergency lockdown. From the shadows, the cloaked figures watched. They had tracked Leary this far, but they did not know what awaited them. Elias crouched with Leary behind a stack of cargo containers and whispered, "Stay close, follow my lead, and trust your energy." Leary nodded, her small wings twitching. The first cloaked figure stepped forward, scanning with a strange device. It hummed softly, searching for the dragon core energy. Leary's aura pulsed instinctively, pushing back the scan like a shield. Elias watched, his heart pounding. "Good," he said. Keep it steady. The figure frowned and gestured, calling others forward. Using his engineering tools and quick thinking, he activated a series of small defense drones he had hidden in the containers. They whirred to life, creating distractions, emitting bright lights, and confusing the enemy scanners. The cloaked figures hesitated, surprised by the human's cleverness. Elias seized the moment. Now! Leary! Move with me! Leary stepped forward, her aura glowing brightly. As she focused, small flames controlled and harmless to her, flickered around her. They created barriers, deflecting the enemy's energy devices and buying them precious time. Elias moved with precision, guiding Leary through the maze of containers and corridors. Every decision, every step, was calculated. He used his human instincts, ingenuity, and knowledge of the station's layout to stay one step ahead of their attackers. One of the cloaked figures lunged forward, attempting to grab Leary, but her aura flared instinctively. A wave of golden light pushed the figure back, sending him stumbling into a pile of cargo. Leary gasped. But Elias reassured her. Well done. That's your strength. You're amazing. Her confidence grew with every move. She began to understand that her energy was not just a defense, but a way to protect herself and those she cared about. With Elias guiding her, she felt powerful and capable for the first time in her life. The battle intensified as more cloaked figures approached. Elias noticed their patterns, the way they coordinated, how they expected fear to make their prey weak. But Leary was no longer afraid. She and Elias moved as a team, anticipating each other's actions. He used small gadgets to block attacks and create openings, while Leary's aura disrupted their equipment and confused their sensors. Finally, they reached a wider corridor, leading to an abandoned docking bay. Elias peered around a corner and saw the remaining cloaked figures regrouping. They were powerful, but Elias had a plan. He whispered to Leary, "Stay behind me. When I give the signal, release your energy in a steady wave. Don't stop until I tell you." Leary nodded, her small body tense but ready. Elias took a deep breath and stepped forward, deliberately drawing the attention of the cloaked group. "Over here," he shouted, waving his arms to lure them toward the docking bay. The figures advanced, confident in their strength. But as they entered the open space, Leary released her energy in a controlled wave. A golden shield expanded outward, pushing them back and causing their devices to malfunction. The humans and aliens who had been hiding in the shadows watched in awe as the small dragon girl's power held off the dangerous attackers. Elias smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "You're doing it, Leary. Keep going." Leary's confidence soared. She focused, the energy surrounding her pulsing like a heartbeat. The cloaked figures stumbled, their strategy failing against the combination of human ingenuity and dragon power. Elias moved quickly, guiding her through the docking bay toward a small ship hidden behind a stack of containers. It was an old, but reliable shuttle he had used before for emergencies. "Inside! Quickly!" he urged. Leary obeyed, climbing into the shuttle with her aura still glowing around her. Elias followed, closing the hatch and initiating the emergency systems. The shuttle hummed to life, its engines a soft roar as it lifted off the docking bay. From the window, they watched the cloaked figures regroup, frustrated but unable to pursue them. Elias exhaled, a mixture of relief and exhaustion. "We did it," he said softly. "You were incredible, Leary. I've never seen anything like that." Leary's golden eyes shone with pride. I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered. You believed in me." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "That's what humans do. We protect the ones who trust us, and we never give up. And you, well, you're extraordinary. Together, we make a great team." The shuttle glided silently through Nova 9's outer corridors, leaving the chaos behind. For a moment, everything felt peaceful. But both Elias and Leary knew that the threat was not gone, it had only been delayed. The cloaked figures would regroup, and the fight for Leary's safety was far from over. Leary looked out the window, watching the shimmering stars of the galaxy. Do you think they will come back?" she asked, her voice quiet. Elias shook his head, but with a serious expression. "Maybe. But we'll be ready. Humans have a way of surprising even the most powerful enemies. And now, you have your strength. You're not alone anymore, Leary. Not ever." She leaned slightly into him, her small wings brushing against his arm. I want to stay with you," she said softly. "And you will," Elias promised. "I'll be your guardian, your family, for as long as you need me. Today, tomorrow, and every day after that." A calm settled over them as the shuttle carried them to a safe location within the station. Leary began to relax, her golden aura dimming to a gentle glow. She realized something important: her fear, though natural, was no longer stronger than her courage. With Elias by her side, she could face anything the galaxy threw at her. And Elias, for the first time in years, felt a sense of purpose deeper than he had ever known. Protecting Leary was not just about survival, it was about trust, courage, and the quiet strength of the human heart. He had faced many challenges in his life, but this standing beside a young dragon girl, teaching her to trust herself, and fighting together against impossible odds, was the most important one yet. As the shuttle glided silently through Nova 9, Elias and Leary sat side by side, watching the stars. The danger had passed, for now, but the bond they shared had grown stronger than any threat. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but they had proven something important. Humans could be brave, kind, and clever, and together, with those who trusted them, they could face anything. Leary leaned against Elias, a quiet smile on her lips. Do you think we'll ever have a normal day again?" she asked, half joking, half hopeful. Elias chuckled softly. "Normal is overrated. But with you, Leary, every day will be something worth living for. And who knows, maybe tomorrow we'll have a little adventure and a little peace at the same time." She nodded, snuggling closer. I like that. Eh?" And in that moment, amidst the stars and the hum of the shuttle, both of them understood a simple truth. Family was not always born, it could be chosen. And courage was not always about strength, it could be shared. Together, human and dragon, they prepared for whatever the galaxy might throw at them next. And neither of them would face it alone. The quiet hum of the shuttle filled the small cabin as Elias Ward guided them through Nova 9's less-traveled corridors. Outside, the stars shimmered like scattered diamonds, and the vast emptiness of space reminded them both how small they were in the galaxy. But inside, there was warmth, safety, and a growing bond that neither distance nor danger could break. Leary sat on the small bench, her golden eyes reflecting the soft lights of the shuttle. Her wings were folded neatly behind her, and her tail curled around her feet. Do you think they'll try again?" she asked quietly, her small voice tinged with worry. Elias glanced at her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "But we're ready now. You've grown stronger, and I'll be right here with you. No one can take you if we stay careful and smart." Leary nodded, a small smile forming. I think I understand now. My power, it's part of me. And I can use it to protect myself and help others." Elias smiled. "Exactly. And you don't have to do it alone. That's the important part." The shuttle finally reached a secure docking station, an abandoned part of Nova 9, rarely used and hidden from the main traffic. Elias had chosen this place carefully, a safe spot where they could regroup and plan. As they stepped out, Leary's aura glowed softly, a sign that her energy had become more stable. They spent the next few hours assessing their situation. Elias reviewed security logs, noting the patterns of the cloaked figures and possible escape routes. Leary practiced controlling her aura, learning to expand and contract it at will. With each exercise, her confidence grew, and her golden light seemed to shine brighter. "I never knew I could do this," Leary said, her small claws gripping the edge of a console. "It feels like I can do anything if I try." Elias crouched beside her, studying her closely. "That's because you can. Bravery isn't about never being afraid, it's about using your fear to become stronger. And you're already extraordinary, Leary." A soft breeze from the shuttle's ventilation system ruffled her scales. She looked up at him, a mixture of awe and affection in her golden eyes. "Elias, thank you," she whispered. "For everything. For believing in me. For staying with me. For being my family." Elias felt a lump in his throat. He had spent years wandering the galaxy, helping where he could, but he had never expected to be called family by someone. And yet, here it was, a quiet, profound truth. "Sometimes it's chosen, and I choose you, Leary. Today, tomorrow, and every day after that." Leary's small wings fluttered in delight. "I choose you too," she said softly. The two of them shared a moment of calm, a rare pause in the chaos of the galaxy. For a while, they simply sat together, watching the stars. It was a silence filled, not with fear, but with trust and hope. But peace was never permanent in a universe as vast and unpredictable as Nova 9. As night fell over the station, the faint shimmer of cloaked figures appeared on distant sensors. Elias scanned the readings carefully. "They're trying again," he murmured, his jaw tightening. Leary's aura pulsed in response, almost instinctively. We can stop them this time," she said firmly. "I'm ready." Elias nodded. "Yes. And this time, we're not hiding. Humans don't run from danger, they face it. Together, we'll make sure no one can take you." They prepared quickly, setting up makeshift defenses around the docking station. Elias used old machinery, tools, and crates to create barriers and obstacles. Leary focused her aura, letting it extend in gentle waves that could act as shields. The small duo was ready, their teamwork honed from the previous encounters. When the cloaked figures arrived, they were met with an unexpected resistance. Leary's aura flared brightly, blocking energy scans and small attacks, while Elias's clever traps and barriers forced the attackers into awkward positions. The cloaked group had expected fear, confusion, and weakness. But what they found instead was courage, strategy, and unity. Leary moved with surprising grace, her energy expanding in controlled bursts. She deflected attacks and illuminated paths for Elias to maneuver, guiding him as he set countermeasures. Together, human ingenuity and dragon energy created a harmony of defense that the attackers had not anticipated. One of the cloaked figures lunged at Leary, hoping to catch her off guard, but Elias was quicker. He grabbed a metal beam and swung it to block the strike, giving Leary the moment she needed. She released a focused wave of energy that sent the figure staggering back, clutching their chest. "You're amazing," Elias shouted, ducking under another attempt to attack. "Keep going." Leary's small body glowed with renewed determination. I can do this," she yelled. Her aura flared brighter than ever, forming a protective dome around them. Sparks and flashes of light erupted as the attackers tried to breach it, but Leary held firm. Finally, after a tense few minutes, the cloaked figures retreated, realizing they could not overpower the human-dragon duo. They disappeared into the shadows, leaving Elias and Leary standing victorious but exhausted. Leary sank to the floor, wings trembling but still glowing faintly. We did it," she whispered, amazement and relief mingling in her voice. Elias knelt beside her, gently brushing her hair back from her face. Yes, we did. And you were incredible. You faced them with bravery, and your energy, your strength, saved us both. For the first time, Leary allowed herself to fully relax. She leaned into Elias, trusting him completely. I'm not alone anymore, she said softly. No, Elias replied, his voice firm but gentle. You never will be. I'm your family now, and I'll always be here for you. The rest of the night was calm. They took turns resting while keeping watch, but there was no immediate threat. For the first time, Leary felt a sense of belonging. She had a protector, a teacher, a friend, and a father figure all in one. Over the next few days, they worked together to strengthen their defenses and train Leary to control her energy. She learned to expand it, to retract it, and even to shape it in small ways that could guide or block attacks. Elias watched her grow with pride and awe, seeing not just a dragon girl, but a strong, courageous young being ready to face the galaxy. During quiet moments, they shared stories. Elias spoke of Earth, of humanity, of the small victories and struggles he had faced. Leary shared tales of her brief past, her dreams, and her hopes for the future. Each story built a bridge between them, forming a family not defined by blood, but by trust, loyalty, and love. One evening, as they watched the artificial sunset of Nova 9, Leary whispered, Elias, do you think we can have a normal life someday? Elias smiled, placing a hand over hers. Normal is what we make it. With you, every day is special. You have your power, I have my wits. And together, we can create a life that's full of safety, learning, and happiness. That's normal enough for me. Leary's wings fluttered in delight, her tail curling around her feet. I like that, she said softly. And so, in the heart of Nova 9, amidst the stars and the endless hum of the station, a human and a dragon girl found something rare in the galaxy. Family, trust, and courage. Leary was no longer alone. She had someone to protect her, guide her, and love her as part of a family she had chosen. And Elias had found a purpose greater than any adventure, any mission, or any challenge. He had found a family worth protecting, and a small dragon girl who had taught him that courage, hope, and love could shine even in the darkest corners of the universe. The cloaked figures might return, and the galaxy might always hold dangers. But for Elias and Leary, it no longer mattered. They had each other, and that was more powerful than anything else. Together, they faced the stars, ready for whatever came next. For the first time, they both knew humans could be brave, dragons could shine, and families could be chosen, not born. And in that truth, they found strength, hope, and a future worth living for.